will indeed. I think we saw some pretty good stuff from both of those players. Even, FroStee, who we were picking up on a couple of his plays, he sent me, as he so often does, a very kind message just saying, I can see your smile there, not flaming me and calling me an idiot, giving me some helpful feedback as to his plays, because we can only give our best guess on what is going through the players' heads. But that's all ancient history already at this point. It is now all down to the series versus blitzchung. And already we can see, very unsurprisingly, Paladin, Shaman, Druid, both players left up, not included in the 6 bans. And the Mage, however, for FroStee is the deck that was left up, which I guess you can see the reasoning for blitzchung. Maybe he thinks he can go nice and aggressive and get underneath all the mid to late game power of the Reno Mage. But I've got to be honest, Reno Mage, in my opinion, is looking like just a decent deck at the moment. It's not oppressively powerful by any stretch of the imagination, but just a solid mid-tier class at the moment should be able to take a win.
And for this very unique format in the week, being, as you said, the best of the worst or the worst of the best probably puts you in the perfect spot to actually take a win versus the worst of the worst, Shaman and Paladin mainly. But also, Daruk, in the 2 games we've seen Druid today, it's 1. So 2 points to me. And
2
I want
points
to
to Gia.
Respect for Druid. Come on, guys.
Fair enough. I mean, the first game didn't really count because it was like the absolute perfect draw. But I guess having said that, it's what the deck does try and do. As another point against Daruk Brown, however, I will amend my previous statement. This is not even the Reno Mage for FroStee. Oh. This is, I don't know what we've taken to calling this deck, but it's basically Hunter Ace and Pheno's creation of Box Mage.
It's a Scam Mage. That's what they called it.
Yeah, Scam Mage is, I believe, what they would have called it historically as well. Basically, the point of the deck is it's very similar to Reno Mage in that the Dragon Cast is there, the amazing Reno is there, all the big spells are there, like Power of Creation, Deep Freeze, and Puzzle Box. But of course, you're running of all those really jammy cards you hate to lose to. 2 Dragon Casters, 2 Puzzle Box, 2 Deep Freeze, as well as a Power of Creation. You're basically trying to just cheat out those big spells as soon as you possibly can. And then you just spam your...
spam scams.
You spam the scam, yeah, you spam the Puzzle Box emotes. And sometimes you get a win, more often you don't.
Wait, who came up with this name? Uh-oh, Mage.
That's a pretty good description.
You know,
this is a bit of a whoopsie.
Yeah, let's roll with it. I think that it's so strange, right? Because you're cutting Zephyrus and Reno the Relicologist, obviously, to make things more consistent. But what you're making more consistent is the chance cards, let's say, Yogg-Saron's Puzzle Box and Power of Creation. So it's weird. You can more consistently get luckier or unluckier.
Right. Yes. Yeah. To be honest, I'm very far from convinced that this is the correct version of Mage. I think that being able to hit in the early game, Zephyrus or Reno makes up for the fact that you're doing the more powerful mid-game stuff more often. Especially as when it comes down to the late game, having those extra big threats in the late game, like Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, and even a Tiamat or something, can be a big deal in giving you the late game power that you need.
Right. And aside from the late game doubles and consistency, they're also running 2 Doomsayer, 2 Frostnova, which will be very, very important, I guess, against the aggro decks. And blitzchung has indeed queued up his Shaman first. So we'll get to see whether the uh-oh Mage can make blitzchung go uh-oh or make FroStee go uh-oh.
Well, I think that no matter what, a vast part of it is not going to be in FroStee's control, because we are going to be seeing, I'd have to imagine, a lot of puzzle boxes, especially when you're copying them with the Tortollan Pilgrim as well. It can be a bit of a spectacle, to say the least, but you're guaranteed to get some good clips at the very least, which is a good news for me.
Definitely. Top 5 moments incoming, all from this one game. Up next.
Easy. Absolutely easy. Yeah, all 5 of them are just puzzle boxes off the top, and Ranlit just explodes on Twitter.
All right. So if we're talking about how the Shaman can possibly take advantage of the Mage, of course, it's a big deal that they're no longer running Zephyrus and Reno. So that's 2 pieces of removal essentially removed. So maybe blitzchung can finally get a splitting axe to copy something relevant this weekend.
It's not a terrible starting hand for blitzchung. Like, you know, we could see just the lightning bolt being tossed away and trying to double up on the evil totems come turn 4 or turn 3 with a splitting axe. But for blitzchung, that's just not aggressive enough.
Everything's not good enough. I've seen this type of mulligan when you're looking for totemic reflection, because that seems to be the one that they're really looking for to get the full payout with the splitting axe. It's worth noting he's got the double Doomsayer, and that hand doesn't get there against Doomsayer, so that might be what's playing on blitzchung's mind.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
He's also running a bunch of the one-drops that you would see from other lists.
But it's a good point you bring up about Doomsayer, because to an extent you can play around it, but at a certain point you just have to say, right, if I just play around Doomsayer here, my hand does literally nothing. So I have to just start throwing minions down on the board and pray he doesn't have it. And good news indeed, especially with the reflections off the top.
Oh my goodness.
This is the start of something powerful happening here for the Shaman for the first time today.
Including also Staz's games from week 1. For the Shaman is doing what it was ideally built to do. Just stick big ones, and it's mana kids, so it will not be running out of gas anytime soon either.
Literally just needs the axe now. Woo! Oh my god. Disgusting. Disgusting.
You can't call this disgusting when it's the first time it's happened.
Disgusting.
Alright, fine. You know what? I, for one, I mean, no offense to FroStee, a good friend, but I'm happy to see Shaman actually working out for once.
Me too. It's far from over yet. This mage deck can come back from the most unlikely of scenarios. And to be fair, it's not actually that... a lot of mustard on that word there. It's not that much damage here coming in from blitzchung quite yet.
There's a bloodlust. But Derek, I'm already thinking about, with the way FroStee's hand looks, is it going to have to be freeze into self-fatigue from these mana tide totems? That's what I'm looking at. He doesn't have a way to clear board, but he has a way to consistently freeze board.
Well, at the current rate, we are 3 turns away from fatiguing it for blitzchung. Oh my god, it can't possibly be.
I mean, that would be the ultimate scam, wouldn't it?
I wonder.
Okay, so blitzchung, I'm sure, is aware that he's gonna be burning some cards.
Oh yeah.
And that FroStee has, you know, almost guaranteed at least one form of freeze, because everything is 2-ups in the deck. So now he's got to figure out the breakpoints to be able to deal the Bloodlust lethal ASAP.
Really? I mean, I was going to say I wanted to see double Storm's Wrath no matter what on this turn. Oh, actually, no, sorry. I take that back. If you go double, you can't play Bloodlust on the following turn, and he isn't necessarily expecting the freeze. So I do actually like this line. I was letting Caster Vision get to me a little bit there. Because now, potentially, we're looking at Bloodlust lethal from blitzchung's perspective.
The one thing I'm not absolutely sure of is filling out that last board space. He probably did it just to clear up space in hand, to draw things like Lightning Bolt. But it's looking like he just is completely going to pass the next turn outside of a weapon hit. Maybe you just equip the Splitting Axe. It hasn't been activating its anyway all day.
And of course, FroStee just insta-picks the puzzle box. If he can get himself Dragon Caster, he is well back in this game.
Oh gosh. Oh my god.
Blitzchung will start fatigue next turn.
The Malygos can give another Nova, but he probably won't go for it this turn. Because it means he can't play the natural Nova.
Yeah.
Oh my god, but that just might be what he needs, right? Because as it stands, he's lacking one more turn of freeze. Ray of Frost won't be able to do enough. Just 2 freezes.
He should go for the guaranteed freeze, right? Because next turn he might get Pilgrim or Dragon Caster and then could get a box down.
Right. So, not even gonna play the Twilight Drake. FroStee knows it's not relevant. Wait a minute. So So Blitzchung's deck is empty next turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then at the end of his next turn, he's going to take 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 + 5 damage.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
15.
15. So is it really just Malagos for the other Nova here?
Yep.
What even is Hearthstone? Oh my god, he got it! And he has to ping face. I don't know if that speeds up a fatigue counter, but it's not like he wants to give Blitzchung any space to play minions.
Okay.
So he takes. Is that not just
15 damage this turn, I think, right? Or at the end of this turn, sorry. It will be a total of 15.
Mm-hmm. And then the next takes another 6. So it's not there quite yet, but the Malagos and the Novice can maybe go face for the lethal?
It would have to be a total of 4 extra damage, right? And so I think with the current hand, it's not there. Something has to come for FroStee. It could be Argent Commanders off the Power of Creation, if that's his best out.
Right.
Or Reckless Rocketeers.
God. Yeah, I think good recognition from Blitzchung to clear off any minions that might go face. Oh my god. Oh, does the Novice give him any outs in the deck?
So it's 6 damage on the following turn. That he's already used 1/2 of the twin spell on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the Ray of Frost.
So, looking at the deck, there's nothing that he can play with the remaining 7 mana that helps him, except Arcane Breath into a Discover.
Or Dragoncaster.
Right.
It has to be Dragoncaster. Right. In which case, is his out more likely if he just goes for
Power of
the
Creation?
Power of Creation?
It is really tough to say. Granted, it's not just the charges that help him out here. Maybe something like Cartooth Defender, plus the
okay, yeah, maybe
that might save him from lethal this turn.
Maybe, yeah.
So he is gonna go for that Rush Wind Fury.
Gyrocopter.
Oh my gosh! So each one.
I think he's just dead.
Runs out on me.
Okay.
Even with the freeze.
1 second. Even with the freeze.
Attack.
Yeah, nothing has. After he deals with the small minions, nothing else can 6
die.
Health or below. So he is just dead in one of the most insane series of games of Hearthstone I've ever seen. It just felt like a series, Derek.
Oh! What a ridiculous game of Hearthstone. And very well played by FroStee. You know, he knew, I think, very early on what his out was. He was not clearing that board. He had to hope to either get the puzzle box out early or freeze for lethal. And he was 2 damage off. Who knows? I mean, maybe, even though it's like basically impossible to spot, I'm wondering if there were like plays he could have gone for like turn 2 and start pinging face a bit more.
There's only one that I can remember that I ended up saying was correct, but now I'm not sure, which is there was a turn he pinged face when he could have played Twilight Drake while freezing. That could have been relevant, because that might have been damage that have gone face. But to be fair to FroStee, it's very hard to see from that early on how much extra damage you need from 6 pings of fatigue. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult indeed. I mean, already getting messages saying of how he could have potentially got a little bit of extra damage, but it's just impossible to know that you are going to be in that exact scenario where it's 2 damage off lethal. It's maybe potentially worth arguing that he should have known that that's how he could lose, was not having enough damage to hit with lethal. But I think even earlier on, his highest chance of winning the game was just by getting the Dragoncaster down or the Tortollan Pilgrim down, to try and hit the puzzle box down. Yeah, exactly, which just didn't come.
Got a quick message from Sottle here saying that there was a turn where FroStee could have cleared the Shield Bearer and allowed his other minions to go face. So that would have been extra damage. But even then, it's not entirely sure whether it's right or wrong, because that would, of course, give blitzchung board space for him to, I don't know, develop another taunt or something.
Yeah, it's very, very
so
weird
interesting, that game.
It was indeed, and I can't wait to see FroStee's message about that one. Although, to be fair, I think that one was fairly simple overall. He just froze and hoped that it got there in the end. Played it, very frosty, haha. As we jump into the next game of this series, we are going to have to let the players have a little bit of a rest, come up with what their next strategy should be. So, for the conclusion of this already ridiculous series, we're going to go and jump to a quick break before we return right after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters here for the Asia Pacific region. My name's Derek Brown. This is Gia, and we are bringing you a thrilling series for the knockout match between FroStee and blitzchung. This is the first time we've seen either of these two players this year in Hearthstone Grandmasters, given that they finished in the bottom 8, or the bottom 3, actually, it's got to be said, or bottom 4 in the last couple of weeks, thus earning themselves only 1 point from each of the previous weeks in Swiss. And because of that, if they want to end up in Division A come the round robin next week, they will have to win the tournament. So one of these players at least is guaranteed to be Division B. Very likely both of them, but there's always a chance. So for them to get that chance, they will have to win this series first of all. And blitzchung at 1-0 up with the Shaman is in the best spot to do so.
Yeah, what a story it would be if either of them made the run all the way from the worst possible start for the first 2 weeks into a win to just sneak into that Division A finish. And what a story it would be if they did it through playing 4 mana tides and surviving like 6 procs of fatigue.
That would be pretty insane. It's a long way that they would have had to have come. But the mage is available for another game, which I can't believe I'm saying this. I think it's mainly just to upset Sottle. I'm pretty happy that we get to see it again. It always leads to some very explosive moments, as I was saying in the previous game that we saw there. And up against the rest of blitzchung's decks, I think it's still in with a pretty good spot. This deck can just beat absolutely anything if it gets the right hand.
True enough. But FroStee is switching over to the Paladin and blitzchung. Another Druid believer. I love to see it. It's not just glory. And I want to say it could be another point to me, but the opener for FroStee looks pretty powerful. Curve already available. Question for blitzchung is whether he wants to keep this Wrath as removal. But he says it's not good enough. And you know what? I can get behind it. Fungal Fortunes is way more important, I would say. Because if you're just removing 1 minion on their turn,
I think you could even make the argument that like overgrowth is more important than a piece of early removal, because removing their stuff is good and important, but you have to start focusing on your own win conditions pretty soon.
Now, if that had come 1 turn earlier, blitzchung could have a similar game plan as Glory did in the previous series. The Innervate into Rising Winds, and then just try to never lose the board from there because he has Ironbark. But because FroStee was the first to develop and he could threaten to remove the Rising Winds with Coin Weapon or something like that, I think blitzchung is rightfully pivoting to going for an Innervate Glowfly plan. Still very strong.
Yeah. I loved this play from blitzchung. I think this was a very, very easy trap to fall into, to go for the minion there to fight for board. Because, you know, we've been talking about the power of Druid going for minions just this previous series when Glory went for the Innovate Eagle, as you said, to fight back against Shaman. But because of Hogsteed or Weapon or Coin Murloc War Leader, whatever it may be, I love that instead he's digging for the Glowfly Swarm, and he is rewarded. Being able to go for Innovate Glowfly next turn may just be the winning play.
And you can really see the difference that going first versus second does in this kind of meta, because if blitzchung were going first and he could have been the first to develop the Rising Wind, suddenly that's a winning line. But now that he knows that FroStee had the capability to respond, he is, I think, waiting, and even holds back on the Innervate as well. Because he knows it can still be good next turn. Plus, he gets to remove a War Leader this turn.
Yeah, I'm fine with this. Especially if he wants to remove, he can go for the removal this turn, and then next turn, if he wants to, Glowfly Innovate Crystal Power if he has to remove something else as well. I think this is obviously a very short game, but this is actually, I think, one of the low-key, better played games we've seen so far in APAC GM.
And it's not even done yet. The Glowfly comes online, but FroStee has a decent response. He can go War Leader into Coin Cold Light Seer, buffs from both stats, and can take a bunch of value trades. Of course, trade off the Beast first, summon the Murloc so he can buff that. Are there arguments for, say, playing the Weapon, or maybe even not playing the War Leader? Go double Cold Light instead? Because technically the Murderer can still already clear off something, but I feel like it's a waste to not get the trade up with the Mermy.
Yeah.
I wonder.
There's also a world where he goes Cold Light plus Weapon. Now, no matter which way you look at the iterations, I think the War Leader plus Cold Light pans out the best.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The only other consideration was
FroStee's reaction. He messed up with the order. Didn't get the buff.
He thought about it at the start of the turn, but then at the end just forgot about it. Yeah.
Didn't get the buff on the health. And honestly, every point of health matters, but that Starfall is humongous.
Yeah, it's potentially just back-breaking right now.
So that combined with Innervate Ironbark onto one of the Glowflies can deal with the War Leader.
I don't know if I like using Innovate and Ironbark when you're going to 7 next turn. I think I'd probably rather just see Crystal Power to take it out.
True, that's a lot simpler.
Yeah, it's a little bit uglier, I agree, but saving the Innovate has to be more valuable, I feel like.
Or he just goes for... I was thinking using it for AoE and then spreading the damage out
Same.
that way. But...
I guess
this
I didn't
works
even
out
consider using it for 5 damage.
You know, pans out pretty well.
Pretty good though. Yeah.
Blitzchung's able to clear off everything except the minion whose death rattle he doesn't want to activate.
This is a sick game. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. Now, you of course have to point out that FroStee could have had one more minion on board here.
True. Well, and maybe that would have incentivized Blitzchung to go for the AoE instead. Who knows? It's difficult to say.
It's not over though. He can generate something like Underbelly Angler. He's going all face here. Which, ooh. Okay, definitely not active, but if it were, and you could get something like the Hunter Hero power, you could just try and go face.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
But this Iron Bark, Value Trade, Overflow, Bog Beam, that's just gotta be GG.
Yep, I think, yeah, get the full heal first, and then you go for Overflow, I think, just to see what you get. Maybe if you have a Mount Seller in hand, you want to go a little bit easier on the 0 mana spells.
Imagine thinking Druid's bad. Alright,
Okay,
it might be bad,
to be
but...
fair, I guess I underestimated quite how bad Murloc Paladin is. It's really, really bad.
Still being
FroStee...
Underbelly for miracles, I guess.
Yeah.
But that is just about the worst one.
It's not even like he's playing a good arena deck. It's like he's playing a pretty bad arena deck.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, this one's just not even close. I guess the only thing that Blitzchung's missing is some way of, you know, propagating onto the board. But having said that, just triple Rising Winds plus Power of the Wild probably wins the game on its own right.
Or double Rising plus Soul of the Forest. There's a billion lines they all win.
Sure.
And this is kind of the nature of all-in decks such as this Paladin. I call it all-in because if it doesn't get the early game, it just completely fizzles out.
Yeah, there is actually 0 comeback mechanisms at all. I think the out here is McGurgle Prime, basically, for FroStee.
Into
and even
all
then,
of the best ones.
Exactly, yeah. It's still looking extremely grim after that.
There it is.
Okay.
But he doesn't need okay, Derek. He needs absolutely amazing. Plus, Blitzchung could just get Savage Roar off the top.
Oh, sorry. What I meant to say was absolutely amazing. Plus, Blitzchung could get Savage Roar off the top. Sorry, just slipped my mind.
Okay. I'm surprised to not see him start with the draw here off Rising Winds. But looks like Blitzchung's got other plans. Just Glowfly, Power of the Wild, sure.
Yeah. Just doesn't really matter.
Like you said, a billion lines, they all win. Except the one that ends turn right now. Oh. This feels like lethal. Okay, 4, 8.
6, 10, 12 Power of the Wild. That's lethal, right?
Got Hero Power and Double Moonfire as well.
Yeah. 2-0 lead to Blitzchung. And, you know, I said it at the start. I think that was just a very, very well played game there for Blitzchung. I think he could have got away with playing it a lot worse and probably still won that game. But he just absolutely maximized his chances, even if FroStee had got a slightly better mid-game draw. So very, very impressed with that from Blitzchung. And feeling bad for FroStee here. It's got to be said. He messed up the... I almost feel bad for pulling him up on him, because it mattered so little in messing up the buff on the Hogsteed Murloc thereafter. And I feel like in all the decisions that really mattered, he was doing the right kind of stuff that series.
I will say, though, that it might be indicative of a little bit of tilt, and this is fault to FroStee at all. I'm guilty of that even just when casting. Like just a while ago, messing up a bunch lowered my morale, and that tends to lead to more mistakes. So FroStee, of course, he's very, very unlikely to make it from here, but not completely out of it yet. I would like to see him take a win on stream for the Swiss portion. Of course, we'll still be seeing him in round robin, whether or not he is able to continue today.
We will indeed. Yes, that's a good point. For all of these players, even if they get down to the bottom, it's not like they're guaranteed relegated. It's not even like they can't hit promotion. Even down in Division B when round robin comes, there's still a couple of spots that can hope to hit the top 8 to go to playoffs right at the end of this season of Grandmasters.
And if there's any deck that FroStee could try and reverse sweep, I would say it's the Paladin, but blitzchung has also left his Warlock available. So that is, I guess, a lot more difficult because we did call Zoo one of the better decks left up. And blitzchung is also running the Zephyrus, which we thought was a little bit off the wall from Don's list.
Yeah, I know I'll get some flack from this for some players, because Zoo has been proving itself to be not as bad as previously expected. I thought it was just not a deck at all a couple of weeks ago, but it has kind of turned around. Players are starting to do well with it. Obviously, Swid's taking a win last week in Europe Grandmasters, and I think Gallon doing very well with it as well. It's coming together in APAC at least, though. It really hasn't been finding its feet.
Not quite, but I will say that this type of meta is maybe one where Zoo can shine because they don't have to go for the strictly look for the scrap imp and kind of Gul'dan type of game plan. They can sometimes just win on board because it seems like Magic Carpet is absolutely insane against both Paladin and Shaman. But it will be FroStee's Mage up first, and he's already got the Dragon Caster in hand.
And that was one of the things, actually, that I think we incorrectly criticized Tom for in his, as he was one of the few players to bring Zoo earlier on in GM, is he was tapping extremely aggressively for Magic Carpet, right down to when he had 1 or 2 cards left in deck, just because he was so furiously trying to find it, which now that I've seen a few more Zoo games, does make sense with the most recent build and iteration. It is very, very crucial to swing those boards back to find the Magic Carpet.
For sure. Tom, ahead of the curve, no surprise from a former world champ. But speaking of ahead, blitzchung has got the coin scrap imp on turn 1. Definitely not something FroStee wants to see. Speaking of FroStee, he's got the double Dragon Caster, but no big payoff spells. So probably hoping to discover something good off the Arcane Breath.
Yeah, a couple of Arcane Breaths, a Dragon in hand. This is a hand that could do some pretty disgusting stuff. Not quite yet, though.
But as early as now, the Scrap Imp is going to get some major dividends. 6 minions buffed. And FroStee can go... Sorry, blitzchung. How do you feel about just playing a carpet there? It doesn't seem like it could get answered. But I suppose this just develops way more power onto the board.
Yeah, it's a lot less attack. And I get the kind of victory rolling. While I was just talking about how powerful Carpet can be, maybe not necessarily in this matchup. It's more for the tempo matchups where you want to rush in and get the value trades that it's more important.
Fair enough. FroStee is going to begin digging for payoff spells. Oh. Cone of Cold, the only one that kind of helps stall, I suppose. You could argue for a Pexus Blast, but seems like FroStee is staying true to his battle tag, going for all the freeze effects as he can.
And I think probably rightly so. At the very least, it stalls until he can find the Puzzle Box, Deep Freeze, and Power of Creation, which is, I think, far and away his highest chance of winning this game. And of course, cheating them out with the Dragon Caster.
Will he have the time? Looking at blitzchung developing 2 more minions next turn, or possibly a 7/7 with the Nightshade Matron. Does discard the card, which feels a little bad, but the hand from blitzchung is actually quite awkward because Inspireds both discard the Nightshade. But that is a play if I've seen. Off the top, Evil Genius Serpent Egg.
Yeah, the pressure is absolutely not slowing down for FroStee. He's going to have to find some kind of a powerful removal very, very soon, I'd say. I guess he was looking for Malagos's Flame Strike there on that turn, so he could go for that next turn with Dragoncaster, which would have been pretty insane. Is the play ever to go for Tome? Because it gives you 3 random spells, one of which may be big to go for Dragoncaster.
I was looking at that.
It's probably just Frostbolt.
You know, I don't hate the look of Tome, because it looks like next turn he's gonna go Dragoncaster one of the mass freezes, and then next turn he'll have the mana to go Tome, Dragoncaster, and hopefully get another big one. But in the meantime, he would be taking a lot of damage, so I also understand the bolt. So, Carpet, double Lackeys. I also don't hate just playing the Nightshade. It discards the other Nightshade, which isn't buffed.
On wings of evil.
Whoa.
Well, if you're playing Zephyrus...
Yeah. Oh, it's got to be Alex, right?
The right hand Alex?
Sorry.
Yes.
When I say Alex, I mean, yes. 15 health Alex.
Okay.
Wow, that was literally the least helpful thing I've ever said, wasn't it? It's got to be Alex here. No questions asked.
And let's be real, Darren. You've said a lot of unhelpful things, so...
Second only to, 9 mana dragon. Not even close. Easiest decision of my life.
Right. So it looks like blitzchung is just going to be using Lackeys here to deal with the Malagos. Or just ignoring it altogether. I feel like, I don't know, he had an easy clear onto it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Big one.
Very big one.
He had an easy clear onto it, but the deck is not actually running Power of Creation, I just noticed, so that makes sense.
It's running 1, right?
And not Power, I meant Conjurer's Calling.
Oh, sorry.
Ready for a show?
Okay.
Very, very powerful turn indeed. And the freeze is going to be annoying because even if blitzchung can clear it, kind of just, well, simultaneously freezes all of his minions and board locks him at the same time if he wants to develop on this turn. It's very, very awkward.
Speaking of awkward, blitzchung's got all of the cards that want to discard the Hand of Gul'dan, but not the hand itself. Although I really don't hate playing the buffed Nightshade Matron to discard the unbuffed one, and then possibly the 2/1 drops.
Well, it would discard Alex, right?
Wait, yeah, right, it's in hand, never mind.
Which I'd be very happy with here for blitzchung. I think Alex is nice on turn 9, but getting out a 4 mana, what even is that, like 8/8 with Rush, or 5/7/7 with Rush, it's insane.
Yeah, completely agree. Buffs the free frozen minion.
Hate to see that.
You were just a bird.
Maybe Draconic Lackey is just good to give you something to not discard the other matron.
I mean, that's what I was almost kind of suggesting a couple series ago, but it turned out it was wrong in that.
Okay. FroStee again relying on some freezes, it seems like, until the box is available at least, or the Reno.
Ooh. Okay.
So he can trade away the 3/1 and then just Cone of Cold this turn with Arcane Intellect, and then save the Dragoncaster for a better thing.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. You probably want... I mean, I was looking initially at Frost Nova plus Drake to maybe try and set up lethal over the next couple of turns, but that runs a high degree of risk because it's your last dragon in hand.
Right. I also feel like this is one of the few spots where Cone of Cold can actually freeze all the remaining minions on board. I think the turn starts with draw.
Yeah, you want to find the puzzle box.
We're talking about lethal setup over 2 or 3 turns. I think it could also be done, but it still involves Cone of Cold this turn, right? Because the way the board pans out, Frost Nova is way more valuable.
I agree completely.
Went to the ping instead of the draw here. That's a bit interesting to me. It saves 3 health on the Malagos, but I don't feel like that's hugely relevant. I guess there's a carpet. That might be why.
But do you care if your Malagos dies here? I don't entirely
If you're going
see
for the lethal setup, a little bit. But
to be honest, I feel like it never really gets there. I also would have preferred the card draw there. Just because he's one freeze effect away, basically, from being able to play Reno. Which means, given that he has no more freezes in the deck, I believe, he needs to hit the puzzle box, really.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I also like the trade over the ping there, but just trying to get into FroStee's mindset, maybe. So for blitzchung, it's just gonna be another Nightshade Matron. I don't hate it.
Almost out of time.
You were just a bird.
It's a question of whether he's actually afraid of the multi-freeze. Because if he was, I understand why he would keep playing it, but there's the Tortolan.
I mean, I don't want to say guaranteed to hit puzzle box, but very likely, given that he's played 2 Arcane Breaths.
The deck is not running Blizzard.
Yeah.
It's got the other Deep Freeze and the one of Power of Creation. I think the whiff is just other Intellect and Ray of Frost.
Yeah.
So it's not guaranteed to hit Puzzle Box, but I think it's guaranteed to hit either Deep Freeze or Puzzle Box. So Deep Freeze probably isn't good enough here. He's gonna hold off a bit, just go for a Nova this turn. There's the other one.
Yeah,
it's just a Reno. Reno 10.
Yeah, I guess this will do it. I was going to say I disagreed with this play, because if you go Tortolan this turn, then you can go next turn AI Dragoncaster plus any spell you draw, whether it's the freeze or the puzzle box. But by hitting the second Frostnova this way, he is laughing.
It's worth noting that box also wouldn't have guaranteed
of course.
Freeze, so.
But at the same time, yeah.
Good pointer.
As long as you believe.
The most concise argument. Kind of ruined it by saying as long as you believe. You just say, yeah, it would, and I completely understood anyway.
Well,
okay, anyway,
it's on me, I guess.
Finally able to clear this Malagos, but we will be running into another freeze effect, and he rightfully doesn't develop anything. Same with FroStee.
Rip it.
Wait!
My man, let's go.
Wasn't it just a Nova into Reno? Wasn't that good?
Yeah, only nerds would think here. Real Hearthstone players jam the ball.
Oh, 3 minions discarded.
Incredible.
This could be pretty good.
That's pretty good. Something cleared.
FroStee's expression is making me very worried.
You can't play the Frostnova now.
Oh, right! It happened again! It's happened with Stag, the other... week 1. Okay.
Efros isn't active.
I don't think a tap would have any chance of making it active either.
I don't actually know what the secret is either. I didn't, because I don't think of Desperate Measures it shows you. Yeah. So we're just as much in the dark as blitzchung is here. What are you afraid of? Get down. It's maybe the worst one. Okay. Oh, but if it's Never Surrender here.
And it is disaster for blitzchung. You can already tell from FroStee's posture and emotiveness that he's feeling like he is way back into the game. And I would agree.
To be fair, I think he was owed one by the universe after the last couple of series.
All right, fair.
Many possible
And by the universe, you mean Yogg?
Yes, exactly. It's just one of those things. If you just don't even think about it and throw down the box, it will deliver. It will give you what you deserve.
Okay, in hindsight, I was questioning the box over just a Frost Nova play, but my play would have floated a whole lot of mana. It locked him into Reno for the next turn, and after the Reno, blitzchung could have just vomited whatever he was holding in hand, and then FroStee probably would have had to box anyway. So it's like a box now versus box later situation.
Yeah. And here I completely agree. FroStee should not go for the Reno. He can just deliver very easily lethal over the next couple of turns. I don't think there's any outs in this jump.
None at all. That will be FroStee getting his first win on the board of the day. And could it be the beginnings of a reverse sweep?
We'll have to see. This Zoo Warlock is not the most oppressively powerful deck, it's got to be said. But I don't know, man. FroStee is left with some real stinkers. You could definitely argue with the Paladin. I think even the Shaman does not feel like it's in a good spot in this matchup, all things said. As long as the Zoo knows how to approach it. Because while I've been saying over and over again, Zoo does not play like the old school Zoos where you just vomit all your 1-drops and hope to win the game through a couple of trades and killing them nice and quickly. If you're against Shaman, I think you probably should play that way, because all you want to do is stop them from sticking a totem and going off with all their disgusting copying totem plays. So I think as long as blitzchung knows what he's doing, and I definitely think he does, then he should be able to stay ahead of the Shaman as well as the Paladin.
We've talked about it over and over that blitzchung is probably feeling very at home this week because aggro decks are his specialty. But I think it's also worth noting that FroStee has played a lot of Murloc Paladin in previous metas. It's probably a lot different than how it is now, but I think he should also have a good shot, at least in terms of deck knowledge. And FroStee's got a Druid. That's pretty good, Derek.
For FroStee or for blitzchung? Because for one of those players, I would agree with you.
Hey, I just believe in Druid. It's the only, aside from Zoo, which is still being argued, it's the only deck that has been proven to be good in GM at some point. Because the Mage is absolutely new.
Well, sure, but that was pre-Kael'thas, right, being changed, which is a pretty big difference to the deck.
You just don't need to play Kael'thas.
Fair enough.
You see how Japan's doing it, right? You see how they're the top performing country across all of GM.
I'm not ready to enter into hot takes on broadcast, all right, Gia? That's for another time. I'll do the Derek special and just lie down and let you win.
That's no fun. It's not even a hot take. It's a deck that has a 2-mana draw 3.
All right, fine. I'll just make mean memes about you. How about that?
Yeah, if you can get Olivia Munn to notice me, I'll take any meme.
I never pegged you for a simple match, yeah. But either way, jumping into the next game, blitzchung on the Zoo with what looks like, yet again, pretty good start. Bunch of 1-drops. FroStee does have the startings of a hand that could be incredibly powerful, but again, it just comes down to the fact that he has to win the early game turns. Has to.
And if we're talking about that, does it, yeah. And I ask if it means just lightning bolting this, but it kind of means his next turn is either coin hero power or play the beaming sidekick, and I think it's coin hero power, plus that's not the right buff. He wants the health buff, so oof.
Oh, it can't be coin hero power, right?
Yeah.
I think at this point it's setting up for going for hero power and totem reflections on the same turn on 5, which isn't terrible, you know, especially with the surge.
Or 4 if he just saves coin. Yeah.
Oh, sure, yes, sorry.
Not terrible.
While we've been discussing all of that, blitzchung is popping the heck off.
FroStee just shows you all the emotions of man. We've seen the highs of the highs, and we're seeing extreme stress, which is to be understood because you definitely don't want to be in this spot as an aggro deck yourself. When you're talking about using Splitting Axe as a Fiery War Axe and it just being okay.
How does it happen every game, Gia?
Because every game is other aggro decks, and they're just better at developing early board, so you never stick a totem, because all of our players know not to let you stick a totem.
How can a play that's so bad be so right? It defies the laws of nature.
The rest of the deck is so bad.
Ah,
Oh my
yes.
gosh!
Yeah.
You're telling us that Zoo itself is still good.
Oi, 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 oi. Okay, I mean, it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't get there.
Who are you shouting at, Darek? I'm convinced. I agree with you.
The universe. Yeah, this is not hot takes. This is cold takes with Derek Brown. Shaman's gonna lose,
Look,
and I'm just very passionate about it.
He can regenerate the hand and Nightshade. Well, you know
I
what?
wonder if you're actually supposed to sacrifice both your 2/1s there, or you could do it now to deliberately overdraw one of the hands of Gul'dan because you don't want that many in your hand.
Well, he doesn't have enough cards in hand to overdraw. Oh wait, you mean?
Well, no, he does. He gets
both
2 back.
from both. Okay.
Yeah. Or he can just upgrade it. Okay, and then you don't get it anyway. Sure, I like this. This is way better, actually.
Oh, Shaman. Oh, the mighty have fallen.
No, man, tell me about it, man. This is the class that's seen, if I'm not mistaken, you to rank 1 and me to rank 4, which is truly...
Legend, guys, just to make sure.
Yeah, not for me. Maybe it was for you. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, truly at its peak, it is devastatingly powerful, but oh man, this is not the thrall I fell in love with, that I was enthralled by.
Love the wordplay.
Thanks.
Add that to your top 5 plays in the week.
That's actually quite a good idea. Top 5 plays with Derek Brown, and it's just 5 times I was smart.
I'd be pressed to find 5, but anyway, blitzchung was being very fine. I mean, very, very smart over this series. Good draws and also just good recognition of how to play them out. So that will see him through the elimination round at least, and sadly, FroStee no longer will be playing this weekend and has no more chance to make it into Division A.
Yeah, I think, I will say that for blitzchung, in some of those games he just got the hand. Well, specifically the hand of Gul'dan, but I meant the good hand that you're looking to hit, where it's very difficult to lose those games. But I think in the games where it wasn't just handed to him, or even in the games where he did just get given the perfect hand, he still played it out very, very well. I think that was a very well played series of Hearthstone by blitzchung, especially in that Druid game, where he was just turn after turn locking out any chance that FroStee had of taking it back. And even though I think there probably wasn't all too much FroStee could have done in a couple of those series, I don't want to take that away from blitzchung, that he played a very good series of Hearthstone.
Completely agree on both ends, and that's not the last you guys will be seeing of FroStee, because even though he'll be in the lower division guaranteed, along with another list of players that we have, they will all be playing on stream at some point during the round robin starting next week. It's going to be a whole different kind of phase of Grandmasters, and our formats are going to be all conquest, so none of this Paladin Shaman nonsense.
Yeah, that's right. Back to the decks we know and, I was going to say love. Actually, I was going to say we hate Demon Hunter. After this week, I am very ready for some good old Demon Hunter action, I've got to say, despite all the oppression that it throws down on ladder. But that's for next week. Right now, we're going to focus on the bracket to see how things are shaping out for these players. Who is going to be awaiting blitzchung in the decider match? FroStee, he's out of here. We'll see him next week. Wasn't a good start to Grandmasters, but I'm sure he can turn that around in weeks 4 through 7. But for now, Dawn versus blitzchung. But blitzchung, he absolutely needs to win this series if he wants any chance at all. And to be honest, I think Dawn might need to win as well if he wants to get into Division A.
It's true. For Dawn to get into Division A, I think he needs to get top 4 and neither FroStee nor blitzchung, well, of course, not
Right.
not important anymore for FroStee, to reach finals. So essentially, Dawn beating blitzchung almost locks him in, I think.
We'll get it sorted out in the break, I think, just to make absolutely certain. But on the other half, Blitzchung needs to win, so it's very clear if he doesn't win this, he has absolutely no chance. For Dawn, it's a little bit closer because he placed a little bit better in the previous weeks. So I think he may be able to get away with a top 4 or top 2. But it does mean that we have just that one final game for APAC today. Should be a very exciting one indeed. And to get us prepared for how the standings are going to work, and to let Blitzchung prepare after that pretty insane series versus FroStee, we're going to jump to a quick break, but make sure you don't go anywhere because the final APAC match of the day